All right, well, good morning. Welcome to our first collaborative speak here. We've had some technical difficulties, so we're recording this and we'll post this up on Facebook on our group. But I am Moyra Gorski. I am a nurse and founder and CEO of Gorski Wellness. I really just help people reclaim their health and make natural choices. And so today I wanted to bring my friend and Sheri Billing on today, and she's coming to us live from Florida. And Sheri is has a company called the Hearing Doctors, and she is a well, she's going to tell you all about that. But it kind of we just, again, the intent of these conversations is to connect with each other, to share what we're doing with other people, and kind of talk about, you know, how we're handling things in this interesting time of this pandemic and being sheltered in place and changes and things like that. But again, really just to collaborate and support each other as women business owners. So welcome, Sheri.
Well, thank you for having me, Moyra. I'm very excited. Yes. I'm Dr. Billing. I'm a doctor of audiology and the owner and founder of the Hearing Doctors in Wheaton. And it is definitely an interesting time. And given pretty much most of, or the majority of my population, we've decided to do a no contact approach. And that has been in effect since March 13th. So while we are open with limited hours, we are really just triaging at this point, handling supplies, repairs, and things of that nature, and no walk-ins. We're not allowing people in the office. It has been sanitized. We will open to have people in the office, but it will be for limited type of appointments. I have several patients who their aids are so old they aren't repairable, and so they need to be tested and aids ordered, and so that requires a physical contact. So I've had furniture moved out, furniture moved in that are all hard surfaces that will be able to be cleaned after each patient. The max patients I'll be able to see per day would be 8. And the reason for that is that we're not allowing any other person in the office at the same time. So the plan going forward is that we will have them call when they arrive in the parking lot. And we'll call them once the previous patient, which they should have already been gone, because we're planning them, spacing them so far apart that it gives us time to clean after each patient. But that way that patient has left the building, they're in their car for the next patient to come in. Just trying to keep it as safe as possible for everybody, including, you know, me and my staff. You know, everyone will be screened the night before. We'll screen them again before they come in the office. But this way, for those that really, you know, we've got quite a few patients who really have to be tested in order to get new aids ordered and in and fit. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on in the hearing doctors world.
Yeah. Now, so 8 patients compared to how many that you would you normally see on any given day?
Well, yeah, it depends on what they're coming for, but I mean, it could be up to 20.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be a dramatic reduction. Yeah.
But good for, I mean, again, you've got to follow those safety guidelines. I mean, you tend to have an older population that they tend to be the higher risk patients. So those are just things that you've got to do in order to be able to at least service those that really, really need your care at this time.
Yeah. And we've kind of also broken it down by age. So, you know, next week, a lot of the people that are coming in, for the most part, are the younger, you know, quote unquote. And then those that are just, you know, I've just not been able to triage any other way. And then, June 1st on, hopefully, the more delicate patients will be, able to be brought in. But yeah, we'll get through it. We somehow managed to get through every day, and every day I'm just like, whew, we got through another day.
Right, right. Do you feel like there's things that you've learned through this that that you're kind of like excited that you learned it, because that's now going to be a new way of perhaps doing something or adding something? Or, we're finding that some people are just able to create something new that they didn't think that, it's like a new idea based on the fact that we've had to slow down and think about a different way of doing business.
Mhm. Well, I definitely think remote care, is something that, is always, it's something new in our field. And it's something that a lot of the rural areas have had to institute, because people were driving 3 hours one way just to be able to receive services, which isn't always realistic, especially if you need just a little tweak. And so now, going forward, we're able to, the caveat here is, of course, a patient has to have a smartphone, and that has sort of been the hang up. And it has been for a very long time. Is, there are a lot of patients out there that do not have technology. They don't have a computer. They don't have a smartphone. I still have patients who have a flip phone that they only use, for emergency purposes only. And so they're not using the apps, which, in order for me to do a quote unquote remote care adjustment, they need to have that smartphone with the app installed. So for that, and granted, it's not all of my patients, but sadly, it's probably my most fragile patient load. So, but, having said that, it's not like I haven't addressed this in the past over, 31 years of practice. I have, family members have to bring it in. I make the adjustment. I hand the hearing aids back to them, and then they take them back home. It's not ideal, but it works. And I've been doing that forever,
Right.
Because there are some patients who physically are not capable of coming in.
Well, and my parents are some of those that are in their 80s, and they don't have a phone. They don't have a cell phone. They don't have a flip phone or a smartphone or any of that. And we thought that they would go ahead and get that when they moved into their senior living community, but they weren't really interested in that. So they were able to just keep with a landline. And so they, again, would be someone that, again, doesn't have that capability. So I could see how that would be a challenge.
Yeah. And we've been doing the same thing in regards to problems and even cleaning checks. We have the daughter, son, or caregiver who brings in the hearing aids. We clean check them, or if they are broken and we can't fix them, then we send them off, and then we clean, when they come back in, we check them in. If they have to be reprogrammed, we do so. And then we call them and say, okay, they're ready for pickup. And so we've been doing that for, decades. And that's really a huge part of what we've actually been doing the past almost 2 months now is, people slide it under the door with a note, what's going on, and then it gets taped back out on the door or shipped off. A couple of the different manufacturers are actually shipping direct to patients, which has been a huge help. And so it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of talking, sometimes people off the ledge. But as this has been going on, for, obviously as long as it's been going on, I think now people have sort of calmed down. People have realized that, they can clean their hearing aid by themselves. They are not going to break it. And, if they really are stuck, I've sat there on the phone and walked them through it. For those that have technology, we've FaceTimed and we've managed to get through it. I'm sure some of them are really proud of themselves for being able to do something that they really thought they never could do. So I think for some of my patients, it's been eye-opening in that respect, because, I had somebody who had to attach a loaner hearing aid to her current ear mold, and she's never done that, and she didn't have the tools, but we did it.
Mm-hmm.
FaceTime was great for that.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, in a situation like this, I mean, we're forced to make some changes. And sometimes, again, that can be a really good thing, that, like you said, we learn to do
Yeah.
things that we didn't really know that we were capable of doing,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're not only, what I've learned throughout the years of knowing you, you don't only take care of those with the elderly with the hearing aids. I mean, what
Mhm.
other services do you provide there in regards to music and hearing, as well as
Mhm.
just kind of ear care too?
Yes. So hearing conservation is a big part of my practice, something I also super enjoy. Um, I do a lot of ear level monitors. I've I work with a lot of bands that they come in and I take their impressions so they can have their ear level monitors made. So hopefully protecting their hearing while they're performing on stage and practicing. And also for even those younger kids, age 10 and up, who got the drum set, who are now taking lessons, kids with the guitars, going through high school and they're in band. It's super important because noise exposure has no age. When you kill the outer hair cells, they're dead, and it doesn't
Mhm.
matter how old you are, and they don't grow back. So we want to protect what we can because we only get one.
Mhm.
And, once they're all gone, that's it. We don't get any more. Do a lot of wax removal, swim plugs, so for the kiddos who have to have, PE tubes placed because of repetitive ear infections. And obviously just hearing tests, as school rolls around, um, they're always tested if they're in the public schools, but for those that are homeschools or private, they aren't. Or the failures, where the county sends them and says, you know what, you need to go have it reevaluated professionally. So I do a lot of that. So that's always a big fall time
Mhm.
as the schools roll that out. I also have a contract with the government for the Army, so I do all of their active and reservists. They all have to have an annual hearing test, so I've been doing that for quite a few years. That's also really interesting, listening to some of the stories and how many tours some of these guys have done. What amazing group of people. My
Mhm.
hats off to them for their service to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know
so
you did.
every day's different.
Yeah, I didn't know you did that. And again, those
Yeah.
ear level monitors, that's what you see again with the
Mhm.
band members, even if
Mhm.
it's your church, because my church that I
Yes.
go to, they have a
Mhm.
worship band, and it's those things in the ears,
Yep.
that
Yep. With the cord. Yep.
right, that they wear. And so again, I think that's really interesting. Like I said, I know that I've learned so much more. I thought that hearing doctors just kind of took care of the old people with the hearing aids, but you really have, quite a, um, quite a big group of those that you care
Mhm.
for besides the
Mhm.
elderly. And um,
Yeah.
how did you get started with your business, or what was it? Did you always want to be some type of doctor, or how did you get interested in that?
Well, I started in undergrad in pre-med pre-pharmacy, and my hope had been that I would be, your local hometown pharmacy, and I would open up my own. And after 2 years, it became apparent that Walgreens, as they, had rolled out Intercom and a couple other programs, that, the local mom and pop kind of private pharmacy would really become non-existent. And I should have probably bought stock back then because I probably wouldn't have had work.
Right.
Um, because that's actually what has happened, which I get. You can have one prescription and they have it on file, and anywhere you go, you can call in. And, we're a mobile society today compared to way back when. And so being able to have the ability to go to any Walgreens or CVS and get your prescription filled from any state is a huge advantage. So after that, I was sort of left with, okay, I have 2 years of college under my belt. My parents were like, yeah, well, you're going to need to be done in 4 because we're done paying after that. So talked with some sorority sisters that were in speech and hearing, getting ready to graduate. And it sounded really very interesting. And my granddaddy actually used a horn. And, thinking back to that and thought, that how horrible that was, as growing up, when the few times that we got to go visit him and we'd all stand on his right side and we'd all have to talk into the horn. And the problem with that, and I don't think a lot of people realize, is that imagine you as a kid and you have something very exciting to tell. Well, the problem when you're sitting there talking into this, because now you're over on his side, you can't see any facial expressions. And isn't that part of what telling somebody something really special that you're excited about is all about? It is. You want to be able to see, how excited are they? Well, you can't sit there and go through the whole story and then run over and see the face and then go back. I mean, it's just not conducive. So I went ahead and I took an intro course and I loved it. And went to summer school for 2 summers and 21 credits a semester. And I did actually graduate on time. And then I went straight on to my master's, because back then that was the entry level. And then in 2000, our field moved to a doctoring profession. And so there wasn't any grandfathering. And so, I decided that, okay, I would go ahead and go back to school, and decided it's not going to be a marathon. I will do it 1 class, quarter, because I really couldn't do any more. The girls were 3. I had 4 offices at the time, and 13 doctors under me, and 5 ENTs and an internist and allergist, and it was crazy. But moved my house twice. Yeah. So I always told the founder of the college that if anybody could, if I did it, anybody could do it. Right. And I don't regret it. It was certainly a very tough time, but in 2.5 years I had my AUD. We have 2 degrees in audiology, of your PhD or your AUD. And an AUD is your clinical. So that was why I chose to do that versus a PhD. So yeah, I love my job. Yeah. It's the greatest job. I mean, I know people always laugh at me when I say this, but I'm not on call. I don't kill people. I don't draw blood. I don't give shots. So it's nice because people know that I'm doing something that they're not going to be hurt by. But at the end of the day, I reconnect people to their life, to the world. I give back their quality of life that they have so missed. Because, as people lose their hearing, they lose their ability to communicate. They become more and more socially isolated because they can't hear, they can't participate. So they just feel like, what, I'll just stay at home. I'll miss out on that party, or I'm not going to go to church anymore because I can't hear the sermon of the minister. And so soon what ends up happening is that they don't leave at all. And the depression kicks in, and then all these other secondary problems kick in that suddenly now become primary problems. Whereas if we had addressed the hearing issue, which was initially the primary problem to begin with, we really wouldn't have all these other secondary problems occurring.
Well, and I think that is, it's so great, and I understand it all. And even during this time, I'm just hoping, like and this is how I came to you initially to meet you. I don't know if you remember this, but I reached out to you because I have a gal on my team who is hearing impaired. And I was learning about the hearing impaired world. And I know that you are an expert in that field of hearing. And I wanted to just get some kind of learn a little bit about that and how people hear and just those kind of things. And, this gal, Allison, who's on my team, she did a live video. I mean, she's deaf in one ear. She has a hearing aid in the other, which provides her about 70% hearing, but she's a master lip reader.
Mm-hmm.
And she did
Yep.
a video about the, having the mask on and then the mask off. And she can't,
Mhm.
I mean, it's been so
Yep.
fascinating for me to learn how she can communicate even
Mhm.
with those deficiencies in her hearing. But you put a mask on,
Yep.
she's just cut completely off. And it
Yeah.
was really an eye opener. And I hope that people, again, I hope we can get past this. I know we will get past it, but get past it sooner rather than later, because for those people that they
Mhm.
need to see, they
Mhm.
need to see your lips moving. And I feel that way when I'm at the store and I put the mask on. I mean, you can't see somebody smile. You can't see
Mhm.
someone frown. You can't, there's so much to, like you said, if you're on the side of someone, you can't see their facial expressions. And that's so much a way of how we communicate and how
Yeah.
someone takes in, they hear, but how they
Mhm.
take in what you're saying to them. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. The deaf community has just really been hit hard. And I have had several patients who've been in contact with me about the whole mask situation because they are lip readers. I don't know if a lot of people understand this, but the best lip reader gets 66% of what is said via lip reading.
mhm,
So you can imagine if somebody who is, really severely hard of hearing or deaf, and that's their real mode of communication, because let's face it, there's not a lot of average people that sign. And now
mhm,
I'm fluent in sign language, but I'm not the norm, right? I
mhm,
mean, you're not going to see me at the grocery store being able to help somebody who's deaf find grilled cheese, or whatever they need. I need pesto. So they're reading lips. So you just took 66% away from that person, and they may not have any auditory capability. So you just cut everything off in their world.
mhm.
It's really, yeah,
It's,
it's sad.
yeah, it's sad. And it's really, again, imperative for us to realize that a little bit more
Mhm.
and give them some
Yep.
grace. Perhaps we need to take
Yes.
our mask off, and so that they
Hmm.
can, you know,
Hmm.
so that they can communicate and be
Yep.
connected with us.
Yeah.
And I like what you say. You connect people back to a world of hearing, or you connect that, you help people with their connections. And it made
Hmm.
me think of what I do with what I've been doing with my business for the last 20 years. I feel like I help to connect people back to that world of health, perhaps that has gone away due to, you know,
Hmm.
life stress, some kind of illness that they got. I help to show how they can build their health up, how they can
Hmm.
build their health with natural nutrition and providing a safe, healthy environment around them, how they can get connected back to a world
Hmm.
where they feel vibrant and they feel like um, they feel good in their life.
Hmm. Well, and I would think your business right now, I mean, I've been with you since 2006. So I know I'm a great testament to Shackley products. I use the vitamins, we all do in our house and have for a very long time. And I would think that your business right now would be not only I would think you'd be very busy, but I would hope that people are now really paying attention to this, because if we don't keep up our immunity, we don't keep us healthy, we're more susceptible to getting sick, whether it be coronavirus or anything else. But right now, I mean, people really need to understand that, your body really is your temple. And if you don't take care of it, you are just setting yourself up for something bad to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to say that, but that's really the reality.
Right. It's the truth. And that's what I've been trying to talk about the last 6 weeks or so, is that it's not just this isolated incident of, you know, going into a bubble for a few weeks so that everybody gets well and then we can get out there. I mean, we really should
Mhm.
be taking this time to pay attention, like you said, that
Mhm.
like you're hearing, that's the only one you got. Your body,
Yep.
that's all you get. And
Mhm.
this is
Yep.
really a dress rehearsal for the rest of our lives, because there'll be something else that comes along.
Mhm.
And the better that we take care of ourselves, and I've certainly learned in the natural health industry that it's so unregulated. There's so much stuff out there and people are confused. They don't know, and I find that people are confused and they're scared now. And so having somebody, I've been in this business for 20 years and I have a nursing degree behind me and I represent a company that's been around for 65 years that has the testing and the studies. That's what I share with others to say, make some smart choices. But if you're confused and don't know what to do, make sure you've got somebody that you can work with that you trust and that you trust their advice as well as the products that they, recommend and I come right alongside you, figure out what your needs are, and then let's figure out a good plan for you going forward. If it's immunity health or, skin health or whatever, sports nutrition or whatever the case, is. So, I hope that, again, this is a time that people do to spend a little bit more time thinking about how they can really take best care, of themselves. So, well, I'm glad that we were able to do this. I know we had technical difficulties, and so we're going to post this up and hopefully it'll go. And it seems like the technical difficulties kind of worked themselves out as this went on. I find that the Zoom wasn't so choppy, so hopefully it'll come out well. I do want to tell you that are watching, I did start a group a couple of years ago, and Sheri and I are both part of it. It's called the Ivy League of Women. It's a networking group of women who are local here to the area of Glen Ellen and Wheaton. But I really wanted to put together a networking group of authentic women that we could really, again, do things like this, that we help each other, we support each other in our businesses. There's no fee. It's a little untraditional, but we do we meet once a month, either virtually or in person, again, to just do these kind of things, have discussions about how we can support each other, what's going on in the business world, how we can support each other as business women. And also we become real good friends and we can help each other in that way too. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and reach out to me and I'd be happy to share with you about the Ivy League of Women. If you're interested in getting connected with Sheri, you can find her with her website, thehearingdoctors.com, I believe.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you can find me at gorskiwellness.com or again, put a note below here as we post this on Facebook. But again, thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Sheri.
Thank you.
And safe travels home. I know that you're coming back to the area this weekend.
Yes.
So safe travels as you come here. And it's always great to connect with you and have a conversation.
Well, you too. Thanks for having me.
All right.